welcome back to this show where we talk all about Breaking Bad. We actually kind of called it Breaking Bad Broken Down.
We didn't kind of call it that. We called it that. That's what it is.
We just did it. If you watched last week's episode, you know we get into spoilers big time. So if you haven't watched last night's episode of Breaking Bad, then get the hell out of here, huh? All right. So last night, episode was...
Oh, it was season 5, episode 10. It was called Buried, which is either because he's burying money or because they're buried under pressure. Double meaning.
Yeah.
Hank's not going to be able to survive
professionally. I think we're going to look back on the series and realize that it was a very important episode. We need everyone's reactions because we've always talked about, like, what's going to happen when Marie finds out? How is she going to react? What's going to happen when this person finds out? When this person finds out? And now we're seeing it.
They went through every scenario, I think, that we talked about basically last week, where we were like, Hank can't go to the cops because it's going to make him look bad. He can't. He's already implicated.
When he goes through that whole speech about why he's done after this, I was like, oh yeah, shit, they were right.
Yep.
They just said it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the problem with being intense nerds about shows like this is that you kind of go down all avenues of possible scenarios, and so we kind of ruin it.
Is they went down those avenues, and now all the fans are. We don't know now. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, they've given the concerns.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, this last episode was setup episode.
Yeah.
You know, it was like lines are being drawn in the sand. Everyone's kind of figuring out where they are. Jesse Pinkman's obviously the big wild card.
Yep.
You know, and we said this last episode. I thought I was alone, but apparently there were people that were surprisingly with Team Walt.
Crazy amounts of people in the comments.
I'm most surprised that Skyler is Team Walt now, officially, after this episode.
That's the thing. That's the biggest surprise of the episode.
I don't think that's the biggest surprise. I think
Well, no one could have called that. I don't think anyone could have called
it. You know, it would have gone either way.
I think it's the same thing with Walt, man. You get to a certain point and you're like, fuck it, I'm in. She's not as crazy as him, and she's nowhere near as smart as him, but like she's like, oh shit, I'm in it. I'm in it.
I think that's the thing.
She's pretty smart.
Yeah, well, she's smart, but she realizes, because, you know, you're sitting in that diner in that fucking intense scene with Skyler and Hank. Especially that moment when he's, like, looking at her with those eyes, and then he just goes in for the hug, and it's like, okay, so he's taking the, I'm sorry, you know, how long have you known approach, but you kind of get the sense that, like, Skyler is in no way going to just be like, I mean, you think she's going to, like, go ahead and accept everything he has there to offer, but she realizes how in it she is, too.
Well, she's also at that 50-50 line, and then she realizes, she hears the cancer thing. But before we jump, let's try and go via timeline. Okay. So we open in with Pinkman, obviously, one of the
aftermath.
Most beautiful scenes, actually, when he's on that little, is it a merry-go-round?
Yeah, I guess it is a merry-go-round, yeah.
But it's like a beautiful scene. He's just gone. He's like his brain's checked out.
Yep.
He's done.
You got that old guy picking up stacks of cash.
Yeah.
Which I never thought, like, when that was happening in the last episode, I was like, oh, that's great. He's allotting the same amount of money to each house. Wonderful. People are going to go out and find a
one guy's like, fuck
He's like, nope, got you,
and
kid.
Then we go straight back into the slowest garage door in the history of television.
Well, but did you see that? The best part
about
great.
The yellow car in the background.
Well, it's cool that okay, wait, multiple things, but, like, there was kind of like that standoff, that, like, Western kind of, like, it's Hank with his hands like this with the garage door opener.
It's also being contrasted with that car behind Walt the entire time. That little freaking kid playing with his toy, and it's just that perfect, like, you have this world crumbling between these two guys, and then you have this kid who's just off in his own little world. It's like such an awesome moment.
And the realization that Hank's on the phone with Skyler. When he's
that was crazy.
What?
That was I think that was probably the most intense moment of the episode, when he peels out of there, when Hank comes out and he's like, where is he? And then Walt freaks out. Like, I think that was, like, intensity-wise, the episode was kind of downhill from there.
You know that Hank's getting to Skyler, and then Walt gets to the car wash place. Skyler's not there, so you're thinking, Skyler's been terrified. She flat out said to him in one episode, I am waiting for you to die, basically, so I can have my family back. So you're thinking, this is it. This is where Skyler buckles. She's going to flip. And then you're like, holy shit. But then you get to the point where, like, she screams leaving the diner, am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
Second best part of that episode.
Yeah.
And then there's two great scenes. That's the first.
Yeah, and then so she's at home. She's trying to get a hold of Walt. Walt's at Saul's. She's trying to get a hold of Saul. No one wants to leave a phone. No one knows whose phone's tapped. There's nowhere to run. And so I'm thinking, as a human being, if I'm Skyler and I need my husband now more than ever, and he's not answering, he's nowhere to be found, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden my sister is here to come to talk to me.
So that advances,
Best scene in the episode.
You're
you
thinking
think so,
like, well,
the scene between Marie and Skylar, I think, is one of the best pieces of acting I've seen in the show, and by far, in my opinion, the highlight of the episode.
Yeah, because we still don't understand like what the fuck happened during their childhood. Like you see it kind of come out when she slaps her and she's trying to take her baby.
We have a tendency with the show, I think, to want these moments like between Hank and Walt where it's that like point break area, but I think that like scene between Marie and Skylar, you like feel it's like saddening. It's like the most, I think, cathartic moment because it's like heartbreaking. It's not you're not getting revved up the entire time. You're just kind of like, oh god, this is like horrible. These people's lives are being ruined like slowly, and we're just watching it.
Like we know these characters, we love these characters. It's almost like they are part of our family, part of our lives. Finally seeing how Marie reacts to it all is just so heartbreaking, and it's so like, dude, just imagine, you know, your brother comes to you or your sister comes to you and says this thing, and you finally realize what the fuck's been going on for the past year, and her husband is a fucking drug kingpin, you know,
and he's probably responsible for your husband being in a fucking wheelchair.
Yeah,
and you, my sister, who is my best friend, essentially kept it from me. It's like, oh.
So here's once again, I think maybe I'm deeply evil. It made me fucking team Skylar because I was like, yeah, she has his back, even though it's gonna bite her in the ass. It's 100%.
It's so gonna bite her. Well, see, that's why my good
she's a
heart.
pawn. She's a pawn.
Exactly. I'm thinking from Skylar's point of view. My husband's nowhere to be found. My sister's now here. The easiest thing to do and the easiest way out now would be like, okay, let's take the kids and get out of here. I'll tell you everything you need to know. Walt's dying now. He kept the cancer away from me. Let's just end this.
It's also, I think, if he's gonna die, maybe there's also the idea that all the problems go away.
Yeah.
I think that if he dies, then she really doesn't have a problem. She gets the money. Even Walt's on that same page when he's like, I hid the money. Yeah. And he's like, I want it to go to you.
That brings us basically to almost the end of the episode, which is when she says, let's keep
quiet.
Like, maybe our best move. And I love like the echoing of the phrase tread lightly with keep quiet. Because it's like you want the opposing side, they want the opposing side to tread lightly, and then they're going to stay quiet. And it's like this nice little like tempered.
Well, and just everything's coming together too because we have the Meth Damon thing and the Lydia stuff going on with the cartel.
And I forget it's either before or after that when Saul says, you know, maybe we send
send him to Belize,
which is a beautiful place. How dare you ruin it?
It is. I went cave tubing there. It was wonderful.
But it seems like Walt has one last line, and I wonder if he crosses that line in the next 6 episodes.
I mean, because at this point he's in absolute desperation. There's like little choices.
That was such a BS moment when Walt was like, "How dare you, Saul? He's family."
Yeah, like, I know. And I'm like, when the fuck have you cared about family?
He has that one last line, and that's the thing is, I feel like the series has been Walt having a line in the sand and then crossing it, Walt having a line in the sand and then crossing it, and I feel like once again, I mean, when we were talking about maybe he killed Skylar, maybe it's not them, maybe it's just something happens and he's gonna have to kill family because it's the last thing in his way.
But the thing is Walt is always so like we're always so in on everything Walt's doing from point A to point B, all the little details, the audience is in on it. When Walt went to poison Brock, that was the first time the show took us out of Walt's planning and Walt's like kind of like actions. Yeah. And he surprised us. And then we still didn't know. Did he poison the kid? We didn't know until that very last shot where it pulls out and you see the lily of the valley and he's sitting there and you're like, oh my god, he poisoned a kid. My thoughts, because I'm so skeptical about Walt's emotions at this point, I don't know who the fuck he is, just like Hank doesn't know. I'm thinking all of this, like, I love my family shit, make the money go to the kids, I don't want it to all be for nothing. It all sounds like Walt bullshit to me.
Yep.
Walt bullshitting Jesse stuff.
I 100% agree.
I just don't know. Like, I don't know he cares about his family anymore. I just don't know. Like, maybe it's the idea of the cancer getting to him, and it's that kind of, like, mortality stuff where he's finally like, fuck this, it's about family now. But there's just something I can't trust about it.
It wasn't about that, though, when he first had cancer, though. It wasn't, he got cancer, and it became sort of the catalyst for, I think, what we relate to in Walt, which is being sort of the underdog and then having that moment where you're like, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want. Like, that's what the cancer was. I don't think it was this big eye-opening moment for him like it would be for a normal human being.
Right.
And I don't think that's what it is now. I think that, like you're saying, it's total BS. He's manipulative. He's going to end up being manipulative. And I think what the difference has been previously in Breaking Bad is every time Walt gets himself into a situation, he gets there and then he steps out. But I think the end of this is basically going to be him painting himself into a corner, and it's going to be like the ultimate tragedy of tragedies. And you can't have a tragedy of tragedies if he still has like good morality in it.
Yeah, you're right.
Because then it's like but at least like no. I think it's going to be Breaking Bad where everybody is like crap. So which is why I like seeing Skyler go full throttle. Yeah. Team Walt.
All right, and then we have obviously the desert scene with Meth Damon.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's
awesome.
Such a good actor.
Even though as the scene starts, you're like, oh, okay, it's gonna be one of those things, like it's all gonna happen off screen, and it's like that's what they're going for. Still, payoff's great.
Yep. Great payoff.
The walking around with her eyes closed.
Yeah.
We really doing this right now, or whatever that guy.
Yeah, I love that guy. Yeah, are you for real? But I just love how you still can't figure out Meth Damon right now.
Mm-hmm.
You just because he shot a kid, he collected the tarantula spider from him.
He's the sweetest guy.
But he's also like a gentleman. I was reading online, someone was saying he's kind of the opposite of Jesse in the sense that he's a total gentleman, but he's impulsive.
Yeah.
Where Jesse is just kind of like...
And has no conscience.
Exactly, and no conscience at all, yeah. And I just feel like he's kind of like a great predecessor to Walt and the Blue Sky stuff. Yeah. But like, I just don't know. I don't know. He seems like there's something mentally like, not right with him.
Oh, totally.
He's like the same character he played in Friday Night Lights, just he murders people. I think in Friday Night Lights actually does murder somebody in like season 2 or 3.
Spoiler alert.
Season 2. Landry killed. Yeah, spoiler alert for another show.
We're getting all Inception on spoiler alerts over here.
Oh shit!
Just don't watch this if you haven't seen nothing or anything.
So okay, so what does this mean for the show? So those cartel guys are gone. They're dead.
Yeah.
So we have a Lydia now that doesn't have a mic to tell her this is a bad decision. You know, Lydia wanted to. Anymore. I know no one has a mic right now. In fact, the only guy that actually had his shit together, as far as like being a criminal and making a professional life out of that goes, is gone.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
Gus and Mike?
Yeah,
Gus and Mike. As soon as Gus was absolutely Gus. As soon as Gus was out of the picture, you had Mike. Now that Mike's gone, it's just basically a big fucking free-for-all for like making an ass idiot out of yourself.
But when you had Mike too, you also on the antithesis of that was on the good side. You had Hank, who always had everything. He had his crap all the time. But now even he's this like freaking trigger that's ready to pop at any second.
Yeah, because Hank really is the glue right now. Everything else is just like a mess. It's this confetti everywhere. This puzzle that like all the pieces don't fit. So I feel like this cartel is out of the way. Now we have Meth Damon and Lydia and his Aryan gang. Where does this lead to Walt and the big gun? Lydia wanted Meth Damon back on the product.
I think Meth Damon's back on it. I don't think that we're going to see a whole lot more of these Aryan guys.
Well, the Aryan guys are Meth Damon's family, I thought, aren't they?
But even Meth Damon, I love it so much.
Casual.
It's just become so casual, yeah. Like, they were saying that his product was only at like 74%.
Yeah.
Right, so it was still subpar, so where do you go from there? But then obviously, I mean, there's the Bill Burr scene that like adds a little levity to everything, right? Funny. But then obviously it all leads to the final scene. We see Jesse again. Is he gonna just flip because he's not being quiet?
No.
Well, actually, he is being quiet.
What I mean, throwing millions of drug dollars. Was it millions or what? It could have been.
Well, they
millions.
said millions, so I imagine.
I think this episode compared to like last week's, it's not as explosive, so I feel like we're kind of all like, oh, it wasn't as good as last week. But like, there's so many things I think in this episode that I really like. Namely, on the note of Jesse, when he's being interrogated by those two cops, I've never seen, and maybe I just haven't watched enough movies and television, but I've never seen an interrogation scene with two cops and a bad guy where the bad guy's just checked out.
Yeah,
and like,
you're right.
They're having zero effect on him. He's
you're
not
right.
playing quiet and dumb. He's just like...
Well, you've seen the bad guy like that doesn't talk, that's holding his own, but you've never seen the bad guy that is just completely done. Yeah, doesn't care.
Completely checked out.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, so the final scene is Hank going into that interrogation room. You're thinking, what the fuck is going to happen in there? Door slams, cut to black.
I mean, if you think about it, now that I'm thinking about it, Walt's killed everyone Jesse has ever cared about.
Pretty much, but Jesse doesn't know that.
No, well, I think he has an idea with Mike. 100%.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. The lies are kind of coming.
Yeah.
Maybe he's putting it together in his head.
Druggy girlfriend, the kid of the girl he liked, fucking Mike. Yeah. After like they had that weird friendship.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like he's literally the worst thing that ever happened to Jesse.
So Hank's gonna talk to Jesse. Maybe Hank will get the angle on Jesse that he that there's something falling apart between him and Walt, because Jesse still has that allegiance for Walt. Remember how much he protected him? He bought him that fancy watch for his birthday.
Yeah, but then even Walt like tried to fuck him out on the money at first.
Sure,
and
sure.
Everything else.
But then there was the stuff about like his like you need to leave that girl and tell her the truth about the drugs and stuff like that. So Jesse still has that kind of kinship, but at this point, because of the Mike thing, he has an idea that Walt's been lying the entire time. So now we have this situation where Hank just needs the right angle on Jesse to make him his wild card, which is what we were talking about. So if somehow Hank can find out that Walt was responsible for Jane or Brock or something else that was close to Jesse, that's it. That's all Jesse needs, basically, to be like, fuck him, let's put him under, let's do it.
So I guess the question with this video, what do you think is going to happen next week? Because this show is so easy to predict and all that.
Yeah, it's nonstop.
It's gotten even harder after all this. The show just basically was like, hey, here's all your predictions. End of episode.
Something is going to happen with Lydia and the Czech Republic. I don't know. Something has to. They can't just establish that and then not do anything about it.
Yeah, let's not forget about Marie.
Marie wanted to eat the baby, is what she wanted to do.
No, it'll be saved with me.
There's this meme online about it, because I guess like at one point Marie said, "You're so delicious, I just want to eat you up." So they're saying anytime she grabs the baby, she's just going to eat the baby. All right.
Wait, actually, on top of predictions, who do you think is going to be the first main character that gets killed?
Oh my God, it's got to happen. You know what? I think Gomi. Gomi might be one that's out. Like
Gomi?
Hank's like Steve Gomez, the guy that he's.
I don't think the audience is close enough to Gomi, but I still think at some point, maybe it won't be next week, but I still think Walt Jr.'s got it coming to him.
Well, Walter Jr. was completely absent in this episode.
He was off eating breakfast.
Eating cereal. Yeah, he's just eating breakfast.
He's somewhere with bacon, complimenting something. No one's around him. He's just like, this bacon is delicious, Mom.
Yeah, someone opens the door and he's just covered in bacon. And he's just eating it.
Last episode, they're going to reveal the Czech guys. Walt Jr.
Yeah.
Walter Jr. is
he drops them. He drops them, and he does that like walk off, like what is it? With Kevin Spacey.
K-Pax?
The Usual Suspects.
Superman.
Or The Usual Suspects. Fuck you guys, I hate everything. That's the end of the episode.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments all that stuff Phil was talking about, and we'll see you next time. And we love you.
Love you.
Always.
Go watch TV.
Go watch some TV, huh?